Fear scatters the mind like wind tearing through smoke. It creeps into your hands before an important choice, tightens your breath before you speak, and dulls the sharpness of every clear thought. You try to focus, yet your mind slides away, chasing every what-if that fear whispers. It tells you that you might fail, that you might lose, that you might not be enough. And when you listen, your energy divides. Your attention fragments into 1,000 directions, and what once felt possible begins to slip through your fingers. Everyone knows that feeling. It is the same in business, in art, in life. Fear is not always loud. Sometimes it is just the quiet hesitation that steals the moment to act. But centuries ago, there lived a man who learned to destroy fear completely and replace it with perfect focus. His name was Miyamoto Musashi. Musashi was born into a world of steel and silence. In his Japan, honor was measured in skill, and skill was proven by the sword. He fought more than 60 duels and never lost a single one. To many, he was a legend, a warrior touched by fate. But Musashi saw himself differently. He was not chasing victory over others, he was chasing mastery over himself. And the weapon he refined most carefully was not his blade, but his mind. He understood that every battle was decided long before swords crossed. The real duel happened inside the heart, where fear tried to shake clarity. To defeat fear, Musashi practiced a habit so simple that it seemed almost brutal. Every morning, he meditated on his own death. He imagined dying in battle, dying alone, dying without recognition. He allowed each image to rise in his mind until it no longer frightened him. Then he stood, breathed deeply, and began his day free of the thought of losing anything at all. This ritual shaped his entire life. When you no longer fear death, he believed, you are free to live with total awareness. That was the essence of his focus. He called it training the spirit. Each day he stripped away the illusions that kept ordinary men trapped. He owned nothing of comfort, carried little food, slept wherever night found him. He walked the land as a ronin, a masterless warrior, living with only what he could control, his perception, his movement, his clarity. Musashi's writings describe how fear clouds judgment. When the mind is attached to life or reputation, the body stiffens. The hands tremble, the eyes lose rhythm. A warrior dies not because his skill fails, but because his mind fractures under fear. Musashi sought the opposite, a state called mushin, the no mind. It is not emptiness in the sense of nothingness, but emptiness in the sense of complete presence. In that space there is no past, no future, only the unfolding moment. Action arises naturally, cleanly, without hesitation. Reaching mushin required constant refinement. He trained his awareness through sword practice, calligraphy, painting, even carpentry. Every motion was an opportunity to remove distraction. When he painted, his brush moved as his sword would move, without thought. When he carved wood, each strike of the chisel was a breath, a rhythm, a meditation. By turning every task into practice, he ensured that clarity followed him everywhere. Yet the foundation of all his mastery remained that morning habit, the contemplation of death. To outsiders, it looked dark, even morbid. But to Musashi, it was liberation. When you accept the certainty of death, fear loses its root. If the worst that can happen is already embraced, nothing remains to threaten you. You move through life light and unburdened. Psychologically, this habit rewires the relationship between the self and the unknown. Fear thrives on resistance. The more you fight against uncertainty, the stronger it becomes. By accepting death, Musashi removed resistance entirely. He no longer fought against outcomes. He moved within them, like water flowing around a stone. This acceptance generated total focus. His energy was never divided between hope and fear. It was concentrated entirely on the moment before him. There are stories of duels where his calm unnerved his opponents before a single strike. He might arrive late, his posture casual, his gaze soft. The other swordsman, waiting and growing impatient, would let irritation break his composure. When the fight began, Musashi's movements were effortless, flowing from a center that was still as stone. He won not by force, but by focus. His way of living offers a direct reflection for modern life. You may not face duels, but you face moments that feel like them. A presentation, a risk, a conversation that could change everything. In each, fear tries to steal your clarity. By practicing Musashi's habit, you can reclaim it. Before any significant act, imagine every possible outcome and accept it. Accept success, failure, judgment, praise, loss. When you accept all possibilities, your focus centers on what you can actually do. The anxiety that once clouded you begins to fade. This acceptance is not fatalism. It is the opposite: full engagement with reality. Musashi was fully alive because he no longer wasted energy fearing death. Likewise, you become fully focused when you stop fearing mistakes. Every ounce of attention that once guarded against failure becomes available for creation and precision. Musashi often wrote that the mind must remain as the moon reflected on water. If the surface trembles, the reflection breaks. If the surface is still, the image is perfect. To still the surface, he used acceptance as his anchor. When fear tried to ripple his thoughts, he returned to the truth that nothing is permanent. This gave him rhythm, a flow between calm and action. In his later years, he retired to a cave called Raigando. There he wrote the Book of 5 Rings. It was less a manual of killing than a map of perception. He described 5 elements: earth, water, fire, wind, and void. Each symbolized a quality of awareness. Earth represented stability, water adaptability, fire intensity, wind flexibility, and void the emptiness of pure mind. The final book, the Book of the Void, held the heart of his philosophy. In it he wrote that understanding the void is understanding all things. To know the void is to see without distortion, to act without hesitation. For Musashi, the void was not nothingness, but presence beyond fear. It was the mental state created by his daily meditation on death. When you no longer resist reality, you meet it directly. Every detail becomes vivid, every motion precise. That was the secret behind his focus. He urged his students to observe how people falter when attached to outcomes. The merchant clings to profit and loses judgment. The artist clings to praise and loses authenticity. The warrior clings to life and loses the fight. Freedom lies in release. Through daily acceptance of loss, the mind learns not to cling, and focus returns naturally. To apply this habit today, begin with moments of quiet. When you wake, sit for a minute before the noise of the world enters. Remind yourself that nothing is guaranteed, not the day, not the work, not even the breath. Let that truth settle, not as sadness, but as clarity. From that space, set your intention for the day. When fear appears later, recall that you have already accepted everything it threatens to take. You become unshakable. Over time, this practice changes how you respond to life. Obstacles lose their sharpness. Setbacks stop feeling like endings and start feeling like part of the flow. You stop wasting effort, avoiding discomfort, and start using every challenge to deepen awareness. This is the essence of Musashi's strategy, not to fight against life, but to move with it in perfect rhythm. When Musashi finally laid down his sword for the last time, he was calm. He had outlived kings and rivals, fame and fortune. In the cave's silence, he wrote that the true way of strategy is the way of nature itself. Everything rises and falls. Everything appears and fades. To align with that rhythm is to live without fear. If you think about it, his world and ours are not so different. We may not wield swords, but we battle distraction and doubt every day. We fight invisible duels against expectations, noise, and inner restlessness. And the same habit that steadied a samurai can steady you. Accept what can be lost, and your mind becomes free to focus on what can be done. Fear has always promised protection, but it delivers paralysis. Musashi's habit removes its disguise. By facing the ultimate fear, he stripped away every lesser one. That is why his calm seemed supernatural. It was not absence of fear, it was mastery over it. And mastery begins the moment you stop trying to escape what frightens you. So when you feel afraid, do not rush to banish it. Look directly at it. Ask what it truly threatens to take. If you can accept that loss, even for a moment, the fear loses its hold. What remains is awareness, calm, and focus, the same qualities that made Musashi invincible. His life reminds us that courage is not loud. It is quiet, patient, deliberate. It is the stillness that appears when everything else has been accepted. And in that stillness, you discover what true focus feels like. Imagine beginning your day this way. You wake, breathe, and acknowledge impermanence. You step into your tasks aware that everything is fleeting, and because of that, everything is precious. You move through the day not chasing perfection, but practicing clarity. When challenges appear, you meet them with the same calm that once guided a samurai's blade. This is the living form of Musashi's wisdom. At night, before rest, reflect again. Ask whether fear directed your choices or whether clarity did. Each day becomes a duel, not against others, but against the noise within. Each day you train a little more to stay present. That is how focus is built, not through force, but through understanding. When the mind understands that everything passes, it stops clinging. When it stops clinging, it becomes light. And when it is light, it moves freely and sees clearly. This was Musashi's ultimate victory, not in duels, but in perception. As this reflection comes to its close, picture Musashi standing at dawn. The air cool, the earth still, the faint scent of dew on his armor. He breathes once, accepts death completely, and in that acceptance he finds life overflowing. He steps forward with quiet certainty, every movement guided by a mind free of fear. That image remains a mirror for anyone seeking strength today. Fear and focus cannot live in the same breath. When one enters, the other fades. By practicing acceptance, you choose focus. You choose clarity. You choose to live like a warrior of awareness in a world that forgets stillness. So carry Musashi's habit with you. When fear rises, remember the lesson of the samurai. Face it, accept it, and move through it. For in that moment of acceptance, fear dies and focus is born.